Seas turn into mulberry fields.
沧海桑田。
Hello everyone, and welcome back. Imagine you stand by the ocean. You watch the waves crash against the shore. You feel the cold water on your feet. It feels so strong, so endless, so permanent. What if I told you it is not? What if I told you that same vast sea could vanish? What if it became a field of trees? This is the story of a Chinese phrase. A phrase that tells us nothing stays the same forever. That phrase is seas turn into mulberry fields. Let's dive into an ancient tale of immortals and time. A long, long time ago in ancient China, there was a man named Wang Yuan. He was no ordinary man. He was an immortal. One day, Wang Yuan decided to visit the mortal world. He chose a simple house for his stop. The house belonged to a family named Kai. Before the family saw Wang Yuan, they heard music. It came from the clouds. Then they saw musicians riding beasts down from the sky. Wang Yuan followed. He sat in a grand cart pulled by mighty dragons. His guards held bright flags and sharp swords. He landed in the yard with a powerful grace. Then, in a single breath, his whole group just faded away. Poof! They vanished like morning mist. Only Wang Yuan remained. Wang Yuan greeted the Kai family with a warm smile. He said he would dine with them. But he was not alone. He wanted to invite a dear friend. He called upon his invisible servant. Go to the magic island of Punlai. He said. Find the immortal Ma Gu. Tell her Wang Yuan requests her company. The servant flew off in a streak of light. The Kai family was stunned. They were simple people. They had never seen a dragon or heard sky music. Now they waited for another celestial being to arrive. They had no idea what to expect. Not long after, a soft wind stirred the leaves. The servant returned with a message. Ma Gu was busy inspecting the divine island. She would come soon. She had not seen Wang Yuan in over 500 years. The family gasped. 500 years? That was longer than their entire history. They waited with bated breath. They looked up at the clear blue sky. Then she came. Ma Gu descended from the heavens. She looked like a young girl of 17 or 18. Her hair was long and dark, reaching past her waist. Her gown shimmered with light. It looked like it was woven from starlight and flower petals. She moved with a calm that made the air feel still. She bowed to Wang Yuan. He bowed back with deep respect. They sat down to share a meal. The table was set with gold plates and jade cups. The food smelled of sweet honey and fresh pine. The Kai family watched from a distance. They felt like they were in a dream. As they ate, Ma Gu spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. She talked about the vast East Sea. She said she had seen it change. She had watched the blue waters shrink. She had watched the land rise up. She had watched farmers plant crops where fish once swam. And she had watched this happen not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. Since I began this path, she said calmly, I have seen the East Sea turn into mulberry fields 3 times. She took a sip from her jade cup. Then she added, I just came from Punlai. The water there is much shallower than before. It is almost half of what it used to be. I think it will soon turn into dry land again. Wang Yuan listened and nodded his head slowly. He was not shocked. He did not look scared. He smiled a knowing smile. The wise ones have said it, he replied. The sea will one day turn to dust and fill the air. They sat there. 2 beings who had watched empires rise and fall. They spoke of mountains wearing down to sand. They spoke of rivers cutting new paths. They spoke of forests growing over ancient roads. For them, this was normal. This was just a Tuesday. For the Kai family, it was the most terrifying and wonderful thing they had ever heard. Their quiet meal was almost done. But something strange happened. The man named Kai Jing looked at Ma Gu's hands. They were long and slender. They looked a bit like the claws of a bird. A very silly thought popped into his head. He thought, if my back itches, those hands would be great for scratching. He did not say it out loud. He only thought it. But Wang Yuan was an immortal. He could read minds like you read a sign. Wang Yuan's face turned stern. He looked straight at Kai Jing. How dare you, he boomed. Ma Gu is a sacred being. You think of her as a back scratcher? Wang Yuan waved his hand. An invisible force grabbed Kai Jing. It threw him to the ground. He rolled and cried out. He felt a whip on his back. But there was no whip to see. He felt the sting. But there was no one holding it. The family watched in fear. They saw him tumble on the dirt. Then the beating stopped. Wang Yuan looked down at the man. A normal person cannot bear my whip, he said. You are lucky to be alive. He helped Kai Jing stand up. He smiled again. It was a lesson. Not a cruel punishment. He wanted Kai Jing to understand the vast gap between mortal and immortal. Between the short life of a man and the long memory of the cosmos. After that, the meal ended. Wang Yuan and Ma Gu rose from their seats. They bid the family farewell. They rose into the sky on beams of golden light. Their dragons returned. Their music played. And then they were gone. The Kai family stood in the silent yard. It was as if nothing had happened. except everything had changed. This story gave birth to a powerful idiom. It is Canghai Sang Tian. Seas turn into mulberry fields. This phrase does not just describe a physical change of land and water. It describes the deep shift of time. It tells us that what looks solid can melt away. What looks vast can become small. A great city can become a forest. A wide river can become a dusty road. We see this in our own lives, too. A child grows into an adult. A small town grows into a big city. A strong building crumbles into ruins. The job you have now might be gone in 10 years. The street you live on might look totally different in 50 years. Think about the ocean. Right now, the waves are pounding the shore. Tiny bits of rock and shell break off. They turn into sand. The water rises. The water falls. It is a slow dance. It takes thousands of years. But the dance never stops. One day, that beach might be a cliff. That cliff might be a valley. Magu saw this with her own eyes. She saw the sea pull back like a blanket. She saw green sprouts push up from the salty mud. She saw silkworms crawl on the leaves of new trees. This is not a fairy tale about magic. It is a tale about reality. The earth breathes. The plates shift. The climate warms and cools. Ice melts and refreezes. It is all part of a grand cycle. We just live too fast to see the whole movie. The idiom "seas turn into mulberry fields" reminds us to be humble. We often think our world is fixed. We think the hills will always be there. We think the river will always flow this way. But the ancient Chinese sages knew better. They knew that change is the only true king. They knew that holding on too tight to today only brings pain tomorrow. When you feel stuck in a bad moment, remember this phrase. When you feel like your problems are mountains that will never move, remember the East Sea. It moved. It changed. It became a farm. This is also a lesson in patience. Magu was immortal. She had the gift of a long life. We do not have 500 years. We have maybe 80 or 90. But we can still watch the world change. Look at photos of your town from 50 years ago. It is a different planet. Look at the clothes people wore. Look at the cars they drove. That is your own personal mulberry field moment. The world shifts under our feet every single day. We just need to open our eyes and see it. So next time you feel overwhelmed by change, take a deep breath. Say the phrase in your mind. Canghai Sang Tian. Seas turn into mulberry fields. It is not the end. It is just a new shape. Water becomes earth. Earth becomes water. Sadness becomes joy. chaos becomes calm. It is all part of the same beautiful, scary, and wonderful ride. The only thing we can be sure of is that it will all change again. And that is okay. That is the way of the world. Now, let's look at some of the English words and phrases in this story. The word immortal means living forever. Vast means very, very big. Descended means came down from a high place. Celestial means related to the sky or heaven. Gasped means took a sudden breath in surprise. Shimmered means shone with a soft, unsteady light. Sacred means holy or deserving great respect. Idiom is a group of words that means something different from the literal meaning. And cycle means a series of events that repeat in the same order. Use these words when you tell your own stories. They will make your English sound rich and deep. I hope you enjoyed this ancient tale. I hope it gives you a new way to think about the ground beneath your feet. Remember the sea. Remember the mulberry trees. And remember that time is always painting a new picture right in front of you. If you want to hear more stories behind famous phrases, make sure to click that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you do not miss a single tale. And share this video with a friend who loves a good story. Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.
下集请移步主页观看。